Hey everybody, this is Brett, and we had our class this morning, our day 2 class. It was great. A lot of you were there, some of you weren't. So I am going to create a video. The class was about an hour and a half, and so I think I can probably squish it down to about 30 minutes if I focus, so that way you don't have to watch the entire thing. What did you miss? You missed the live thing being there. We had some really good discussions. At the beginning, everyone was talking about what they had done and the lessons learned. Um, and I think there's just some great information that you get when you're there live, but I understand maybe you couldn't be there. But I don't want to make you, I promise them, my theory has been, hey, if I don't force you to be recorded, know you're being recorded, and then sharing it with the world, then you might participate more because some of us have a face for radio and we don't really want to be seen on these things forever. So I'm respecting that. So this video is going to be to quickly go through all of the content we covered in our day 2 class and get you on your way. So what did we do? Well, there is a flyer, and you'll see that wherever you're watching this video, there's probably another link that takes you to this flyer. I say flyer, it's kind of like your note-taking handout. And the first thing we did is we reviewed the homework. Your homework for day 1 was to create some scenes. Create 1 or 2 scenes, refine them, regenerate them, check it out, get comfortable with that process. We talked a little bit about what worked and what didn't work and what we can do better in our session this morning. It was great. What I would like you to do, if you're watching this video because you didn't make it, let's have a little bit of that conversation in our Facebook group. So you'll see that there is the Facebook group. And right now it's mostly just me saying, hey, here's when class is. But if you are feeling brave, then I would like to encourage you to think about your day 1, or for those of you maybe watching this for day 2, go ahead and share some information in here about your experience. What has surprised you so far about using LifeSketch? What are you most excited about? So my challenge for you, and this is part of the day 2 homework as well, is to come into our Facebook group, and you'll see that there is this link right here on the page for it. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Ha ha. Let me share my screen. Okay, that's going to make a lot more sense. So there is the day 2 note-taking document for you. And on it, you'll see that it says share 2 things in our Facebook group. What has surprised you? What are you most excited about? You can click right there. That takes you to the group. And like I said, this group is mostly me, and who wants it just to be me? It would be so much more fun if you were there too. So bring your comments and your questions and your crowdsourcing to our Facebook group. In fact, that's your assignment. Part of your assignment today is to create a post in here if you use Facebook. I know a couple of you guys aren't using Facebook, and that's okay. But if you use Facebook, become a member of this group and share your information here, so that way we can all crowdsource and learn and share together. Now, let's jump into the class material. The first thing that we talked about in the class after we reviewed your homework was customizing your AI. And you can do that at 2 levels. I'm going to go through that really quickly. This is a nice to know kind of thing. You don't have to touch any of this. But for some of you, you're going to like, hey, I really want to tweak this a little bit. This is for you. So how do we get into our LifeSketch program? Remember, we can go just to the website, lifesketch.ai, and you're going to see there's a login button there. When you click that, it takes you to the login screen. And with your account, you just put in your information. And before long, you're looking at your account. Now here at the top level, and I always call this the top level where you're not in any books or you're not down into the details of things, you can see here we can always click this logo button, and that's going to take us to the top level. If we're at this level, we can adjust our AI defaults. And these are the defaults for how the AI, being the interviewer and the writer primarily, are going to behave for anything we create. So it's kind of like your standard. And then we also can create, when we go inside a project, how to customize the AI just for that project. So let's go through both of those. If we click the icon profile, or the profile icon, which is this little circle, you might upload your image in the profile settings, and it's a picture view, but right now it's just taking the letter from the name. You can see right here it says My AI Defaults. And we click that, and there's just a bunch of options here. Now, I'm not going to go through all these options, but you can. You can bounce through them and check them out. I'll go through a couple. The AI voice for your interviewer. So this is Nikki. The interviewer has these different voices. Some are male, some are female, some are kind of exciting, and some are kind of deep and impressive. And so you can pick whichever one just happens to feel the best to you. And then you can make some other changes there. You also have your writing defaults. So the writer, I named him Quill, Quill. His job is to transpose or to basically rewrite or to add some polish to the content that comes out of your conversations and the documents that you upload. By default, it's going to be this thing called balanced. Balanced means just good for pretty much everyone. But you'll see here that there are some others. And with each of these, you can see there's a little bit of an explanation for who they were based on. And you might decide that one of those really, you just like it. So that gives you some options. You'll see right here that there is a custom one. I'm going to delete this and I'll show you how we got that. So by default, you're not going to have any custom writing styles. That's what this is about. You can use the wizard to create a custom style, or you can just create it manually. These are intermediate and advanced kind of things. Most of you will never touch this, but if you love, you're like, hey, I'm a prompting king. I love creating prompts. Then you can go in here and create manually. You can create the actual writing prompt for the writer to write it exactly the way you want. So if some of you are going to say, that is brilliant. I wanted to create this flexibility so advanced and the rest of us can have fun with this tool. Now there's some middle ground, and that is maybe you want to have a different voice here that's different from these options. You can click the wizard, and the wizard allows you to just write in some things, and then it's going to generate the prompt for you. And so the one that we had there just a minute ago was, I want my stories to be written like a Stephen King novel. And then I could put some of the interesting things here, right? We could say foreboding and a bit of a thriller. And then even here you can put other names. I'll just put them down here just for fun, put them in twice to know we really want this to be like Stephen King. Now, it might be that you want to create the style that's your own. So if you have samples of your own writing, you can put that in here and base it on your own writing. So there's lots of different styles that you can do. And once that's ready, you click Generate Style. And now I have the option to, once this gets done, I can review, okay, here it is. I'm going to rename this one to the Stephen King style. And you can see right here, it has created the prompt for me. It's given the instructions to the AI so it knows how to write it. And you, of course, can edit this. You can change it. You can do whatever you want with it. And then when you're done, you say, yep, I like that. Let's create this style. And now we've got that style right here. You can delete it. You can edit it. You can have fun with it. So that's pretty fun, I think, to be able to create some nuances in how our stories are generated at the account level. Now, you might have some of these things set up by default, but what you also can do is, regardless of what you set up here, when you're inside a project, so I'm going to click this autobiography that we started, I can do the same thing. Now, I know I'm in here because it has the name of it right here, and I can see that I've got all of these tools or resources within that project. So I'm going to go ahead, and this time instead of saying I think it was my default, my AI defaults, it says AI settings. And now when I click this, I have very similar settings. I can change Nikki. I can change her voice. I can have all those kinds of things. I even allowed you to do some advanced things here. Again, for those of you that are a little nerdy, you want to really dive in and tweak some stuff, you have that option. And then there's also the writer. Once again, we have the same things here. We've got these options. Now, by default, you are going to be English probably if you're using this. However, this is a multilingual tool that can support all of these other languages. So if you just want by default for it to be in one of those, you can select that. So if you want it to be written in French or Spanish or what have you. And once again, you can see here that you've got some custom options here. There's our Stephen King, and there's a few more ways that you can customize this. Right now I've got it set up to learn from my voice, which means it's actually listening to me. And this one, learn from me. It's listening to the way I write. If I've uploaded some projects, maybe I've uploaded some journal pages or some writing I've done myself, and it's actually utilizing that so it can really, really tailor it to me. But I'm going to ignore that. Well, we'll just leave it at that for now. There's also a few more options where you can be really, really overt on how you tell it to write. And these are some options down here. When you're done, you click save and you're good to go. So that is how you customize the AI interviewer and the AI writer. Okay, the next thing that we want to talk about is we're going to really cover these three things and we're going to give you some homework with it. And that is context building tools. So yesterday we really talked about just telling your story, having that conversation, allowing the AI writer to convert that into either a nonfiction or a historical fiction story mode with really, really good writing. However, it's through the refinement of that and regenerating it and tightening it up that you're really, really going to like it. But there's a couple other ways that we could make that writing stronger. And so that's what these tools are for. You can choose to never use them. It's okay. But you might find that there's some value to them. In fact, I like a couple of these a lot. So the first one is the characters. And so if we go to your profile or your account and we open up a project, you're going to see there's a characters tab here, and it's also under the resources on the side. When I click characters, I'm going to see characters. Now, these characters have been created as a result of the stories that I have told. So whenever you're actually in a lesson or creating a new story and you mention, hey, my father took me fishing and his name was George and we, are from Irish descent or whatever it might be, it's going to create that character. And so you can go into the characters. In fact, you know what? Let me show you. Uh, let's just log out of this for a second. I'm going to log into a different account. Let's try this one. River Life. Let's go into this one here. When I go into the characters, oh, nope, that one's not good either. Let's try a different account. When the characters come in, you have to kind of resolve them. And I want to show you what that looks like. Okay, so let's go into this one right here. So I'm going to click characters. All right, perfect. So what's happened here is I've told some stories. I've generated some scenes. If I go to my scene library, I'm going to see in this project, I've got all of these different scenes that I've created. And every scene, all right, let's go, Dad, he called. Like these kinds of things are going to generate characters within this project. And so what happens is when they first come in, the AI is going to say, hey, I have 13 suggestions of characters. And so it's going to say, you mentioned a grandpa. So I can click the green and add him as a new character. I can say, you know what? He's not important. I'm going to delete it. Or I can merge it with some existing characters that are already been added. And I can see right now, the only character that's been added is Grayson. So with my grandpa, I'm going to create that as a new character. And then grandma, that's a new character. Dad, that's a new character. This one right here, unnamed male, I'm not really sure what that is. This might be an example of one I'm going to delete. Grayson, there's Grayson again. So it must have been two parts of either the same story or a different story. So I'm going to go ahead and merge him. So all of the details that the AI learned about Grayson in that story are merged now with the details it has from the other one. And here we've got a whole bunch of porters. So we'll create the first one, and then I'm going to merge them into that. This is kind of a tedious process. And if you're just creating a story, you don't have to worry about this. But if you're going to be creating an entire book and you really want your characters to be consistent over time, effectively the way this works is if I create a character, I've got a character in here. Well, in fact, let me just finish this real quick and then we'll go into that. There's no April, so we'll add April. And then here's some more porters. So we're going to add Porter. We're going to add Porter, add Porter, and we're going to add April. All right. So now all of those suggestions are dealt with, and these are my characters. So the dad, I can go in here. This dad character is actually a reference to me. I know that. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change the name to Brett Allen. But I'm also going to put alias down here. I'm going to put dad because that is one of the references that I go by. And another reference that I go by is BD. Okay. And so now I've got those in there. And I can put all of this information about myself. Why do I want to do that? The reason that I want to do this is because when we're thinking about creating the entire book, what we have is the opportunity to define these characters very, very well. So anytime they come up in a future story, the AI says, oh, hey, I know that name. Let me look at that. Yep, that's the same person. Okay, that gives it more context. I think the way I say it in here is characters help the writing understand relationships and are extracted automatically from your conversations. So the activity is to merge the duplicates like we did, and then add key details to assist the AI writer in writing with context. When the writer knows who's in the room, scenes often feel more grounded. And that's what we're doing here, is we're giving it an opportunity for the stories to, let's say tomorrow I make a new scene and I mention April in it. But I don't really say anything about her. I don't say who she is. I just say, hey, I was at the store with April and this happened. Well, in and of itself, that story doesn't know anything about who she is. But when I extract it and it goes in there and it says, hey, is this the same April? Is that April that's your wife? And I merge it and I add it in there, then it's going to all of a sudden know that relationship. So it might say in that story, like, oh, Brett was beaming at his wife because it knows that relationship. That makes your stories better. So that's what the characters is about. So I want you guys, your homework is to go in, and you've probably generated some scenes from day one. I want you to go in and create these characters, add some details to them. And then when that's done, go back to the stories. And if you want to, you can regenerate them and see, be a little nuanced if there's any changes there. Timeline is very similar, except for the thing about the timeline is it is going to focus on events. Now, the timeline is a great place to really think about the spine of your story on a linear fashion. What happened first and then next and then next. Now, right now, the dates are to be determined. It doesn't know any dates. It's got the date on when these were created, but it doesn't really know much about those. So the first thing that I need to do, it might be, these are all taken care of, but it might be just like we did with the characters. I'm going to see something that says, hey, I found an event from the story. Do you want to merge that with one of your existing events? And it's the same process. But once you've got that in there, you're going to click on this and you're going to see all the information about it. And once again, you can edit this and you can go ahead and create more details. Okay. That is a cool thing for you to do to, once again, same with characters, really define your events so that way whenever they're referenced, there's context there to make your story stronger. Now, it might be that what happens is you act, and this happens with characters too, you might end up having multiple events that somehow slipped in here and they were created as separate events. So let's see if that's the case here. Rediscovering Joy Through Parenthood, which was an event with Porter, and A Joyful Sunday with Porter. These are actually both references to the same story. And maybe there's a nuance there and I want to keep them separate, but let's just pretend that I wanted to merge these together and just have it be one event. I just click merge right here, and then I'm going to select the ones that I want, and then I'm going to say merge them. And then it's going to say, which one do you want the primary event to be? And we merge it. So now we just have that one event down there. And now when I click it, it has all the information from both of them. So you can see right here in the middle, it says merged from another mention. So I could go in and I could edit this and clean it up and put whatever I want in here. But this is an event. I like to think of it as a seed where a story could come from. we might have already talked about it in a story and that's where it was born. But the other thing is that you might go completely backwards with this. You might actually just start with event. And you're going to say, you know what? I want to create an event that's going to be about high school graduation. Okay. And it could be a description of, um, I graduated, at this certain time in this town or whatever. The date, for me, that would have been, what was it, 1991? So we'll say April, well, it's probably May 1991. And it's going to be kind of in an identity section. I'm going to say, oh, you know what? This was really important to me. So I really want the AI to take notice of this. The people involved were Brett, Allen, the place. I actually graduated from a little town called Middleton, Idaho. And then the themes could be like becoming an adult or high school or young freedom, whatever I want. And now I'm going to create this event. So I create this event. So now this event isn't tied to any stories. But what we're going to see down here is that it's probably at the bottom because that was a long time ago. I've got the date here. I can actually click on this and I can write about it. Or maybe I've already written about it and I want to link it to a specific scene. But this allows me, when you think about this, to work forward or backwards. Some of you have a really clear idea of what the timeline is going to look like. And you might come in here first and just before you even write any stories or generate any stories, you're going to build out your timeline. And you're like, okay, now I got my outline. And so now I'm just going to go through these different events and I'm going to write about them. I'm going to add those details. And then it puts it all together. So that way you've got a really nice timeline. So your homework assignment is to go in and merge some of these, add the dates, clean them up, try it out, and mess about with that. Now, the timeline is about internal structure. It's not necessarily about how the final book is going to be presented. That's what the book builder is for. And so what you'll find here is that when we go into a project, so we'll go into this one, there is this option called Book Builder. It's also over here on the side. When we click Book Builder, let me get rid of this. When we first start it, we're going to have no chapters. This is about putting together our final manuscript. This is building the actual book. And so from this, very similar to the timeline, we might go in here and just create all of our chapters. Well, you are going to have to create your chapters first. So we create the first chapter. I like to name them kind of on a functional level for myself when I'm in draft mode. So this could be like setting up the story, kind of that intro. And then maybe my next chapter is going to be introducing the protagonist, me. And then I'm going to have another one, which is going to be, my first life lesson. Or it could be, whatever you think these chapters are going to be about. You can edit and change these at any time. You can rearrange them. Meeting my nemesis, my sister. Just kidding. I love both of my sisters. So we'll just come up with a pretend one. Harry. So now we've got our chapters. Now our chapters have nothing in them. We can rearrange them, right? So we can move them around with these arrows. You can see right now that I have two scenes that I have created so far in this book called LifeSketch. Discovering Pickleball looks like it's two iterations of the same story. So obviously for me, these would probably be down the road in this book. This is about my young life. But if I want to, I just drag it over and drop it on the scene to that chapter. And now that is in that chapter. And once again, if I had them both in the same chapter, I can move them around and they're both the same name. So it's a little confusing here. But the other thing is maybe I don't want it in this chapter. I can click delete. This doesn't delete the book or the story. It just removes it from being told in that part of the story. See, now it's back over here. So I can bring it down and put it in this one. I can preview it. So I've got it all. I can export it. I've got some options with manuscript intelligence and writing coach to really analyze and make it better. And we'll get into that tomorrow. But for now, I want you guys to understand that just like the timeline, you could go in here and you could create all of the chapters more very closely to what you want the final book to be. Now, to do that, in addition to scenes, I've added two other types of content that you can add in there. By default, it's going to be the scene. You can select all your available scenes from here, which I put them both in so there aren't any. But I also can add just custom text. You can make a note. I'm going to add some text in there that says, hey, this is just a filler for now, but this is the chapter I want to talk about when we had 5 cats or something. Um, and then you also have these events that you've created. Remember, in this timeline, you have some events, and you might say, I haven't taken the time to really write the scene or the story about that yet, but I know which chapter I want that to go in. So I can click Event Summary, and it's going to look at the events that I have created, and I can click that. It just happens to be that the events are the same name. In fact, let's get into this. I think if I went to my timeline, I've got first pickleball and first, yeah, there are two. So I'm going to merge these. And so now I only have one. So let's go back to our book builder. Now there should only be one that allows me to put that in there. So if I go, I want to add an event and there's only one now. So I put that in there and I've got that added to the chapter. So there's the opportunity for me to be able to kind of pre-populate my book with all the pieces it's going to need. It might have finished scenes. It might have, I didn't add a note. Let me add a note just so you can see what that looks like. Custom text, very simple. You just put like, remember to add origins, story, um, and then a little text like, um, explaining how I was bitten by a spider and gained superhero abilities, just for fun. Okay, and then I can add that to the chapter. And I say, oh, you know what? I want that to be up a little bit higher. And so now what we're doing here, thinking about this, you have a tool that allows you to start building the spine or the structure of your story. You can kind of think about it in the timeline as putting before and after and just really understanding that. But then from there, before you really publish your book, where is this stuff really going to go? The book builder gives you the ability to do that. So that's what we covered in class, and that's what I want you guys to do. Now, there is one more item on your homework that we didn't get to in class today, and that was uploading source materials. So I think you could probably read these instructions, and if you want to, you can figure it out. Coupe is always there to help you with anything. So you can say, you could type or talk to him. How do I upload images and have the text transcribed from them? And you don't even have to wait on me. You can just ask him, and Coupe will give you very specific instructions on exactly how to do that. So that's always there for you. Remember, Coupe is the best resource you have. He's what I call the wayfinder. You'll never be stuck. He will always show you the way. Well, that's our class for today. Make sure we've covered everything. Yeah, when you feel stuck, use Coupe. Also, write down your questions. If you find any bugs or if you have any ideas, part of the reason, like I say, I'm giving to this guy freely, this process to you freely, is because I would love your feedback. So when you're in here, if for some ever reason something you don't like you know what, Brett, I really wish this would happen. Or maybe you actually hit an error. You click something and something kind of is weird. That's what this little bug is for right here. And you can just go in there and you can say, oh man, it broke. You can put as little in here as you want. Basically, you're just logging in. Hey, Brett, this thing did something I did not expect. It, you know, duplicated my story. Um, when I thought I was just renaming it. Like I'm just making this up. But what's happening is when you submit this report, then it logs it for me and I know what page you're on. And then my computer engineers can just fix it. So that's our our class for today. I think the last thing that I had in here, or maybe it's not in here, but it should be in here, and that is come check out the Facebook page. I would love it if you came in here and created a post and gave a little feedback on what went well or what you liked or what surprised you. Or maybe you have questions for other class members that are learning how to use this. Okay, there it is. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come in and spend a little time with me. I hope this is helpful, and I will see you guys in the next class.